Basically 4 hours of football, Teak. I'm going to give you a heads up.
Okay.
Give you a heads up here right now. Whether it's 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 12 years, 15, 20 years, whatever our length is here at WFAN, all right? If the Jets ever lose a playoff game like that, you're going solo. You're going solo. Listen, and by the way, when the Yankees lost in 2001,
yep,
after we beat the Mets in the Subway Series, that was a different level of sadness and despondency. Number one, the broken bat base hit off Mariano's, highly improbable. But that was underneath the backdrop of 9/11.
True, you wanted fate to work in your favor.
I wanted New York to get lifted.
Yeah,
That's what I almost wanted it more for the. Not almost. I wanted it more for the Yankee fans who lost people than for me. I mean, yeah, I honestly mean that. So that was a different emotion, and hopefully an emotion we never need to revisit again. But just in terms of sitting down and watching a game and having a frozen rope touchdown. Like if Zach Wilson connects with Elijah Moore or Corey Davis, although Davis will probably drop it, with 13 seconds to go in the divisional round against whomever, and then in 13 seconds, whomever we're playing goes 75 yards and we lose in overtime, I'm done. Then I'll just say, you know what? Benigno was 100% right.
Well, he
was right.
This is the argument for the changing of the overtime for sure, because this was one of the most epic games.
Unbelievable.
Forget
game.
Regular season, forget postseason, forget Super Bowl. It was one of the most epic games you've ever witnessed between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. They scored 25 points in the last minute and 50 seconds of regulation, and then when you count the overtime where they just go down the field and score the Kansas City Chiefs, it was epically offensive and awesome, by the way. And it had me thinking, and I don't tweet much during postseason games because there's no Giants or Jets or anything relevant than to most of my followers. But Josh Allen is easily the greatest dual-purpose quarterback I've ever seen.
I saw that tweet. Who's second? Just out of curiosity.
Probably Steve Young. But
okay.
I talked to my brother about this, and he said, "Yeah, but Steve Young ran like it was an accident waiting to happen. You remember, he was always stumbling and kind of falling down and making something happen here. And,
looked vulnerable all the time.
Always looked like he was about to get rocked.
Yeah,
and he got away with it. And unfortunately, that is what got him out of the league. Actually, the concussions that he sustained from being a runner. But when you see Josh Allen running off tackle with two lead blockers and jumping over defenders, it's like he's a running back playing quarterback, and then he can lace it 340 yards for a game and 4 touchdowns on a rope. There's no quarterback that's ever played the game like he does. And this is with Lamar Jackson, who can't nearly match the passing acumen. What he does on the football field is it's spectacular. And to believe I had doubts about him coming out of Wyoming.
Well, we all did.
Just because you didn't. Well, I guess we kind of saw a little bit in Wyoming, but not like this.
No, we didn't. Because you know why? And I told you this. You know this one. But I remember we were still in our condo. We had 2 little ones crawling around, and it was a Saturday. I was doing tops the next day. And I go to hold myself up in our bedroom just to get away from the craziness, the toys, the binkies, the bottles, the screaming. Like, I got to watch Josh Allen. Jen goes, "Who is Josh Allen?" I said, "He might be the next quarterback for the Jets." So I'm disappearing for 3 hours, right? And they played Iowa on the Big Ten Network.
That's right. I remember you told me this.
Remember this?
Yep.
And I went into our bedroom and I watched it. I'm like, "Ooh, this guy's a mess, man." Now, I also realized he didn't have a lot of NFL talent around him. But boy, oh boy, what Brian Daboll, what that staff, what they've done, obviously Shane and the GM Bean, what they've done to bring talent in for him to accelerate his delivery. And that's what we're all hoping that the Jets and the Giants do. But then nurture him and, just incrementally add to his game, and him taking on the workload and processing it and getting better and better. I'm almost more worried about Josh Allen than I am Patrick Mahomes for the next 10 years.
I don't disagree with
serious.
you. I don't disagree with you, BT, because I know Patrick Mahomes ran a lot in this game. He had that big 35-yard run early. I forget what he finished the day with. Pat Mahomes on the ground.
Had to be 50, right?
Yeah, I think it was 69. He led the team in rushing. Josh Allen led his team in rushing. He actually had more rushing yards than Josh Allen did. But Pat Mahomes was rushing, scrambling. He was, making things happen out of nothing. Josh Allen is having Brian Daboll called prescribed quarterback runs. There's no options. Not like you can throw the football. It's not like you're going to hand it off to a running back either. It's Josh Allen, be our running back on this particular play. And it's just awesome to see. So when I first started seeing, or at least buying in to the mobile quarterback in the NFL. Remember, Lamar Jackson comes in, he rushes for 1,000 yards. And
Sure.
we have Kyler Murray, who wins the Rookie of the Year for the Arizona Cardinals. It's like, man, it's finally actually changing to this college game. Josh Allen was not on my radar as the guy who would be the best of the bunch. He's easily the best of the bunch because there's things that you can't defend against him because he can also throw it 50 yards down the field on a rope.
Much more than that.
Oh, yeah, the 75-yard
Got the best arm in football.
The 75-yard touchdown was just ridiculous.
Is bonkers. That
That's
ball
right.
could have got 80 yards if he had to.
That's right.
Just football nirvana. I mean, if you didn't enjoy yesterday and Saturday, you're just not a football fan. 877-337-6666. One of these years, we will get, hopefully, both. Probably start with one, either the Jets or the Giants, and that's what we're talking about, late January here on WFAN. But let's also now get into, as much as we rave about Josh Allen, let's get into the myriad mistakes that they made with 13 seconds to go. Number one, the absolute wrong move kicking the ball to the end zone. Don't tell me, well, if it's a little short, you run the risk of a run back. Nonsense. You chisel 5 seconds off. That's the absolute right play. Yes or no?
Squib kick it. Hard squib kick it right down the middle
Bounce
of the field.
all around.
Let it bounce all around. Let an offensive lineman on the 20-yard line pick that thing up and have to think about what he's going to do with it. Because, maybe he takes a knee and it ends the play, but the clock starts ticking.
Correct.
Right away. And, now you have 8 seconds.
I don't know how they messed that up. And it's basically, even though they had all their Hail Marys, it's still in essence, if that first pass does nothing,
That's
now
right.
it's completely Hail Mary. So I don't know if we all agree, but certainly you and I are in lockstep. They messed that up, number one. Number two, the defense they played that final sequence before the overtime was far too soft, far too spacious. The hill, and I understand you got to guard against, getting beat deep. I understand that that's part of it, but, Hill with a 19-yard gash, Kelsey with a 25-yard gash. I thought they were in the wrong defense. And then they could have manipulated the rules several different ways on that last play. They could have committed a foul, a penalty.
Yep.
Grab Kelsey at the 6th or 7th yard, give him an automatic first down. They get the 5 yards, clock chisels off. The Bills melted down. They melted down. So I don't really want to hear too many excuses about
overtime.
Well, overtime isn't really fair. You didn't really get to touch the ball. That's not fair. And you know what? That's partially true.
It is true.
But the Bills messed up so much in 13 seconds, they deserve to go home.
I don't disagree, BT. Look, we saw this a couple of weeks ago. I forget who it was. Oh, it was last week, actually. They didn't. It was the Cowboys game. They weren't protecting the sidelines. The 49ers weren't protecting the sidelines, and therefore the Cowboys were able to, 10 yards, get the ball, get out of bounds. So the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills did the exact opposite. They protected the sidelines and gave away the middle of the field, and against a really good team with explosive playmakers and a quarterback, they're gonna get 50 yards in 2 plays. And so, yes, I hear you on the Buffalo Bills, but it's really hard in that moment to figure out what's right other than just playing regular defense. If it was me, and I've always felt this way, 10 seconds, 2 minutes, play the defense that you would play, right? You're not going to get, maybe you're going to get beat, but play a shell cover 2 defense so that there's safety nets back there.
You mean you shouldn't blitz like the Bucs?
Yeah, but the Bucs, that was just bad coach. That was
horrendous.
That was Winfield and Antoine Winfield Jr. staring in the backfield on an all-out blitz and get.
But you still shouldn't even blitz there. Is my point. Even if Winfield does his job,
I don't mind the all-out blitz there, but
I didn't like it.
When Cooper Kupp is in the slot, he's doing one of 2 things. He's either running a crossing route, which makes no sense in that situation, or he's running up the seam. He's the tight end. The tight end that we always see running up the seam? Mm-hmm. When Cooper Kupp is in the slot, that's what he's doing. He was poorly coached and instructed incorrectly, squatting, sitting on a quick out, and Cooper Kupp just runs right past him. So that's bad coaching. I actually don't mind the call. But you're right. It always seems to come down to a defense making a mistake, and this weekend was certainly one of those weekends where defenses needed to hold up their part for their respective teams to win, and they did not, and therefore they lose.
877-337-6666. Obviously reacting to this out of the chute. And I want you guys to, and we're going to get to the phones here, as we always do in the first segment of the show. I want you guys to start to process this question because I think I know my answer, but... No, I do know my answer, but I'm not going to reveal it yet. And the scenario will be this. What is tougher as a fan, all right? To be irrelevant, 4-13, 5-12, start prepping for the draft in October, Maybe you fire a new coach. Maybe it's time for a new GM. Complete irrelevance. You almost don't want to watch your team play because there's really no upside. That or to lose in the manner in which the Bills did. Now, I don't know that there's an in-between. I don't know if you can call up and say, you can try for sure, and we'll hear you out, but, well, a little bit of this. No, I think it's one of the two. I've got mine, and I'm going to lay it on you, but that is brutal. Now, again, if you have a couple of championships, maybe the Bills fan wakes up and feels a little bit different today, but when you have no championships and you're euphoric with 13, I mean, do you see the Allen suite? They had 37 members of the Allen family. They're pounding beers. They were going bonkers. Then they lose. Wow. 877-337-6666. Okay. Let's start with Mike, who was in Belmore, and Mike is up first on the fan on Tiki and Tierney. Mike. What's up, Mike?
What's going on, guys?
What's happening, man?
Time caller.
Yo.
I'm going to disagree with your overtime take. I think you guys said can't really complain. I think that was the biggest call of the game. It dictated the whole entire, not dictating playoff games, it's dictating possible Super Bowl winners, all based on a coin flip.
Yeah.
Okay.
So whoever gets the ball is winning.
Well, Mike, let me ask you a question. What's the difference, say the Yanks are playing the Red Sox or the Mets are playing the Braves, okay? What is the difference? The Mets lose, say, 6-5 when Freddie Freeman hits a walk-off double because the game just happens to be in Atlanta. Like, I understand that there's a randomness with the coin flip. I get that. And that's hard to accept at that high level of play. We all want to see Josh Allen get the rock.
Yeah.
But, if you did 2, 3, or 4 things before that, there would have been no coin flip.
And I agree with that. But my counter argument is that do you guys think the rule should be changed? Because at the end of the day, the game was dictated by a coin flip.
Yeah.
It wasn't that, Josh Allen did not get a chance. The Chiefs won because Patrick Mahomes got the ball first. Simple.
Yeah. Well, here's the problem, Mike, and appreciate your call. But this overtime rule has been in effect for a few years now, and it used to be too long, right? Overtime was way too long. So they cut it down to 10 minutes. And now instead of doing sudden death, you have to score a touchdown as opposed to kicking a field goal. We all know the rules, right? Yep. Otherwise, the other team gets an opportunity. At the end of the day, the reason I don't have a problem with overtime, and I know it sucks. I'm not saying it doesn't suck, because if you're a Bills fan, it really sucks that Josh Allen, who was playing about as good as any player that's played this year in this game, didn't get a chance to win in overtime. But it's not just an offensive game. We're not playing 7-on-7. We're not in pass skeleton, which is what they call it when there's no linemen and just, quarterback standing in the back and throwing it to wide receivers on DBs. It's not 7-on-7. You got to play defense. And at the end of the day, as we were just alluding to, the Bills, led by Leslie Frazier, who's a really good defensive coordinator, called the wrong schemes, and they didn't make the plays. And if, Travis Kelce catches a seam route, tackle him. Right? Yeah. He doesn't have to go 25 yards. Be in position to make the play. So I can't discount the plays that the Kansas City Chiefs made, and I can't excuse culpability of the Buffalo Bills not making the defensive plays for the number one defense. That's all we heard coming into this game. The number one defense in the National Football League from yards and points and everything else. They didn't play defense when it mattered most. Do that, overtime doesn't matter.
It's impossible to disagree with that. Stewart's in Brooklyn. Stewart's on the fan, Tiki and Tierney. Stu, what's up, bub?
Hey, what's going on, Brandon and Tiki?
What's up, Stu?
With the Bills, man, what a game! I mean, they had this game more than once, but that 13 seconds meltdown, that's going to sting for years. They should have squibbed the kick, get the clock down to 9 seconds.
Agreed.
Now Mahomes can't get off 2 passes and a field goal attempt, left with only enough time for 2 plays, not free, rush free, and have eight defenders in coverage. And my other point is, with the physical pressure of Allen running, they need to add another back bigger than 5'7", just to beat down the front door of defenses.
Yeah, but he's that guy, though, Stewart. I mean, he's that guy.
But he can't be that guy forever. I think that's kind of what Stewart's getting at.
I 100% agree.
Otherwise, you look like Big Ben at the end.
But for right now, that's what their process is. You got to remember, the Bills want to be wide open. Like they want 11 personnel, 3 wide receivers, an athletic tight end, and Dawson Knox. Yeah. They want running backs that can catch the ball out of the backfield and potentially be wide receivers themselves. They want to play wide open football. They're not a pounded team, and when they try to do that, they're not at their best. Get DBs on the field, take advantage of them with Josh Allen running the football on smaller defensive players as opposed to linebackers. That's their MO.
Okay. 877-337-6666. Ryan's in Norwich, Connecticut. Ryan, you're on the fan. Excuse me, you're on the fan with Tiki and Tierney. How are you today, bub?
Hey, good morning, guys. Congrats on the new gig.
Appreciate you, man.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yep. On this overtime, on the overtime rules, Tiki, you guys know this first came up. I remember the game that this first came up, 2008 Colts Chargers. The Chargers went right down the field, and I think it was Darren Sproles went in for the winning touchdown.
Yep.
And that's all you heard was, "Oh my God, Peyton Manning didn't get a chance, to touch the ball in overtime."
That's right.
And the same thing, Patriots, Falcons, nobody's mentioned that yet. Atlanta didn't get a chance to touch the ball in the Super Bowl.
That's right.
So, this isn't anything new. It only obviously when it happens, then it's everybody wants to throw their arms up in the air.
Yeah, you're right.
What's going on? You've got to change it. And you know what? Squib the ball. I couldn't believe that either. Squib the ball down the field. Make them use about 3 or 4 seconds, and you know what? Then you guys are playing in Buffalo.
I mean, listen, Ryan, here's the bottom line. Thanks for the call there. But if they would have used their heads a little bit more effectively in that situation, they would have turned, instead of a 49-yard field goal attempt, there would have been a Hail Mary for the end zone.
Yes.
And I'll take my chances with that any day of the week.
No, 100%.
They mismanaged it, dude.
Or it's a 60-something yard field goal.
Yeah, or that.
You
Sure,
know what I mean?
or that.
It's something that's less likely to be successful.
Correct.
For sure.
Listen, you want to tell me...
But he's right about the overtime rules. We've seen this many, many times.
I understand that. Now, that doesn't mean just because we've seen many things many times that we can't have a conversation about maybe changing things up. I'm not taking the Bills off the hook because they knew the rules and they melted down a little bit at the end. There is randomness to this, and until that changes, then we got to live by the rules. But if you tell me next year the competition committee comes out and they vote just for playoff games, it's not practical during 17 regular season games to play 10 or 15 more minutes of football. I get that. You want to have every playoff game an extra quarter or an extra 10 minutes? I'm fine with that. You want to have a situation where even, and I would be okay with this as well, you predetermine, like, okay, we're at Arrowhead. You know what? If this game goes to overtime, Kansas City gets the ball first. You know why? That now wouldn't have mattered yesterday, but in theory, that could alter how some teams attack the final few minutes of a game if they know that they're either getting the ball or they're not.
Yeah.
Because you think about baseball, hey, if we're down a run and we're home, the bullpen's used differently. You might bunt. You might move a guy over. There's different strategies.
Yeah.
If you know what the deal is.
That's actually really interesting.
That's what I would do.
That's actually a smart way to do it.
Yeah.
Earn the home game.
Yes.
Earn the home game.
But even if the Jets and the Dolphins are playing in Week 6 at MetLife, Jets are the home team. If there's overtime, Jets get the ball.
Yeah.
It's like the same concept as baseball.
Yeah, I mean, I get it in the regular season why they would want it short, because you don't want these games. It crushes the window for the second game if it's an early game and it goes overtime, and that's money out of their pockets. But for the postseason, because you can't necessarily, because you are what your record is and you are who you are. But if you're the number one seed or you have home games in the wild card round or the divisional round or ultimately in the championship round, if you have the higher seed, you get overtime choice.
You should get some advantages.
I agree.
Okay.
100%.
877-337-6666. Tiki and Tierney on the fan on this Monday. Twitter at Tiki and Tierney. More calls. Obviously, football. Big day for the G-Men on Wednesday. Joe Shane will be introduced. And who knows, maybe Brian Daboll and Mitchell Trubisky comes with him. Tiki and Tierney here on the fan.